Okay, Broncos country, we are finally live. Sorry about the technical difficulties. We had to switch over from StreamYard to from Streamlabs to StreamYard, having some issues. I don't know why it didn't want to go live over on the other server, but regardless, we are live now for the pregame show, Broncos country. Welcome in, everyone. We're just going to let the stream breathe for just a second here and allow some people to start streaming in. I also want to make sure that everything is nice and stable all across the YouTube platform. Make sure that the stream is coming in nice and clean here. All right, it looks like we are in business, Broncos country. So the Denver Broncos are set to take on the New York Jets today in a pivotal key matchup. The Broncos looking to get their second win, looking to build on their momentum that they picked up last week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bo Nix easily put together his best game as a Denver Bronco. The defense was completely lights out. They dominated the Buccaneers up front. 7 sacks. They absolutely kicked Baker Mayfield's ass up front. They were in his face with pressure, sacking him. The defense in the secondary was absolutely fantastic. Jaquan McMillan, Pat Surtain, Riley Moss has been an absolute revelation at the second boundary corner spot. Things have gone about as well as you could ask for them to go on the defensive side of the ball for the Denver Broncos in these first 3 weeks. However, one thing that has gone wrong is Alex Singleton now out for the season with a torn ACL. So other guys are going to have to step up. Cody Barton is now going to wear the green dot and be the play calling linebacker in place of Alex Singleton. Also, we're going to see Christian Welch, the guy that they acquired from the Green Bay Packers. We're going to possibly see Justin Strnad. Lavelle Bailey was promoted from the practice squad, just like Rodney's talking about here. Hope to see Lavelle Bailey get some reps in. I definitely feel like we will see Lavelle Bailey at some point. I think the fact that they promoted him ahead of one of the veteran linebackers in Zach Cunningham or Quan Alexander, that means that they really want to see what Bailey can do while Alexander and Cunningham are still learning the playbook and trying to figure out what they're going to do, what their assignments are, all that good stuff. We got Dylan Earl in the house. Yes, of course, the game is going to be on TV. I feel like you're just trolling at this point. We've got David in the house. Always give you a thumbs up. Hope we win, but just have a bad feeling about this game. We'll talk about that. It definitely is going to be a tough matchup for sure. We run StreamYard today. Yeah, Maverick, looks like we're going to have to because we tried to run it in Streamlabs and it wouldn't go live. I don't know why. I tried to copy and paste the stream key in. I reset the stream key and it would not go live. So we just popped over here on StreamYard for the time being, and that's probably what we're going to have to rock for the game. But it's all right. At least we can bring up comments and stuff like that with StreamYard. There are advantages and there are drawbacks with it. Dylan in the house. Rodney says, this game is going to be a battle of two great defenses that come down to the wire. I feel it's going to be a close one. I have the Jets winning 17-13. I definitely feel like we're going to have a low-scoring game in this one. I think that the Broncos defense is going to do a good job bottling up the Jets' run game. It's going to be easily their toughest challenge of the year with Breece Hall and Braylon Allen. Both of those guys are running very well for the New York Jets. It's kind of like a thunder and lightning approach. Braylon Allen's your thunder. Breece Hall is your lightning. Braylon Allen almost has some Derrick Henry elements to his game. We talked about that in the game preview video that we released last night, that he's a big physical bruising back, 6'1", 235 pounds. He can drag bodies with you, but he also has really good speed for his size. And Broncos country knows what Breece Hall can do. He pretty much single-handedly won that game in week 5 last year against the New York Jets. Breece Hall clowned the Broncos' run defense last year. And this year, the Broncos obviously have a much improved unit up there with John Franklin Myers, with Zach Allen playing so well, with DJ Jones, with Malcolm Roach. All of those guys are playing collectively well as a unit, which is leading to an efficient run defense. What showed us some cause for concern, though, was how they performed against Bucky Irving last week against the Buccaneers. Bucky Irving brought some juice to that Buccaneers run game, and the Broncos kind of looked vulnerable at times against him. So I'm worried about this tandem of Breece Hall and Braylon Allen. And then obviously Aaron Rodgers, we got to talk about him. He looks pretty much all the way back from his torn Achilles. He's moving around. He's extending plays. Of course, he's delivering the ball on time, in rhythm and structure, which alone is an improvement at quarterback position for the New York Jets. But he's got the ability to get you out of a bad play. Let's say that the Jets get up to the line of scrimmage and the Broncos are showing a look defensively that you know is going to dominate whatever the Jets were going to run offensively. Aaron Rodgers can recognize that, and he can the play, he can alert it, he can get to another play. He can have an answer for literally everything that the Broncos are going to show him defensively. He's played in the league so long. He's seen literally every single defense in the NFL. He knows what the Broncos are going to throw at him, and he knows how to beat it. That means that the Broncos defensively are just going to have to out-execute the New York Jets. They're going to have to win up front, and they're going to have to win with a four-man rush. If you can get pressure on Aaron Rodgers with a four-man rush and be able to drop 7 guys in coverage, or even sometimes only rush 3 and drop 8 guys in coverage, that helps at least get Aaron Rodgers off his rhythm a little bit and makes him start thinking and second-guessing a little bit more. That's the only way that you can beat Aaron Rodgers, is by out-executing his offensive line and out-executing his receiving core. Obviously, we've got Pat Surtain. He's going to lock down Garrett Wilson. Riley Moss on the other side, he's probably going to see some Allen Lazard, some Mike Williams. Lazard lines up in the slot as well, so we'll see him also against Jaquan McMillan. We're going to have to see if this Broncos secondary can continue to hold up well. They've held up well these first 3 weeks. Pat Surtain has been locked down, shut down. Yes, he's drawn a couple of penalties, but I'll take that when you're playing the physical, aggressive brand of football and you're only personally holding Mike Evans to 1 catch for 8 yards. And it was against soft zone coverage where Evans caught it. Pat Surtain came downhill, tackled him immediately, and didn't let him get any yards after the catch. So you could call that a catch that Surtain allowed if you want to, but by the law of the land, I'm not really going to. I hope the defense gets a sack on Aaron Rodgers. Saw before the game, Zach was giving the defense secrets about Aaron Rodgers. Indeed. So we all know Aaron Rodgers likes to use his cadence as a weapon. We've all heard him say, green 19, green 18. That is a staple of Aaron Rodgers' game, is his cadence and his hard count. Try to draw the defense off sides, get a free play, run 4 verts, and try to get a deep touchdown. We saw the Jets do it in week 1 against the Green Bay Packers, or against the San Francisco 49ers. And for all those years with the Green Bay Packers, that was something Aaron Rodgers was famous for. Zach Wilson did give the defense a little bit of an advantage because he knows Aaron Rodgers' cadence from playing with the Jets last year. He knows all of Aaron's hard count packages. He knows all of the secrets of Aaron Rodgers' cadence. So he was mimicking Rodgers' cadence during scout team practice this week, giving the defense those advantages with Rodgers' snap count. So that way it'll be a little bit easier going into this game. Of course, you can't mimic Aaron Rodgers' voice exactly. You can't mimic the little subtle voice inflections, but Zach knows what different cadence Aaron Rodgers likes to use, and at least can tip the defense off and have them be prepared for, all right, guys, he might be going on 3 here. He might be going on a dummy double count here. Aaron Rodgers really likes to mix up his cadence, so Zach Wilson gave the defense an advantage there. Also, Zach Wilson was just mimicking Aaron Rodgers, his movements in the pocket, the way that he kind of moves around, all that stuff. So Zach Wilson gave the defense some good looks on scout team this week. Just like Maverick says here, and this is something we have to bring up whenever you play on MetLife Stadium turf, is that you have to hope and pray that you're not going to get any injuries. That turf is one of the worst in the entire NFL. Guys can get their foot caught in the ground, tear their Achilles, tear their ACL. It's not pretty, man. I'm hoping the Broncos can get out of here with no injuries. And yes, Rodney, it is going to be raining. That might actually make the turf a little bit more gentle and make it a little slippy, it's a little more slippery and a little more give to it. So guys might not get their foot caught in the turf as much. The rain might actually be an advantage when you're playing on this crappy turf. So that is one thing to watch, is can this team stay healthy with this crappy turf? Arizona's got bad turf, but if you look at the NFLPA ratings, MetLife Stadium consistently ranks in bottom 1, bottom 2. It is horrible. We got Daniel in the house. Good to see you, Daniel. Rodney says, I watched week 2 matchup between PS2 and Pickens. It looked like PS2 struggled against tall, lengthy receivers. How's it going to be if PS2 has to cover Mike Williams? He's tall. That could be a matchup that Nathaniel Hackett might want to exploit. That being said, will Nathaniel Hackett actually have the wherewithal to do that? That is the question. But that is definitely something to watch. It is, because you are right. Pat Surtain does have issue at times. But by that same token, though, he did lock down DK Metcalf week 1, and Metcalf is also a big, tall, physical receiver. So I think that it's kind of hit or miss. And all right, we're seeing the field right now. It's definitely misty out there. It is definitely misty. Ian Eagle and Charles Davis are going to be on the call today. A true palate cleanser after having to listen to Matt Millen and Tim Brando last week, Sparrow Ditas and Adam Archuleta the weeks before that. We finally have a good announcing crew, and it's going to be a real treat to get to listen to Ian Eagle and Charles Davis this week. When does Estime come back? So Estime is now through 2 games of the 4 that he has to miss. So he could come back. I believe it's going to be week 7 against the New Orleans, or I think week 6 against the Chargers is when we could see him. Yeah, no college announcers. Thank God. I hope this pass rush can get to Aaron Rodgers somewhat consistently. I do believe that the Broncos are going to be able to generate a good pass rush. We saw them generate 7 sacks against the Buccaneers offensive line last week. We saw them consistently in the backfield generating pressure, getting in Baker Mayfield's face, and I think that we're going to see that again this week. The Jets are starting a rookie right tackle, their first-round pick in Olu Fashanu this week with Morgan Moses. He's going to be out for a few weeks with a knee injury. So this is going to be a time where the Broncos could exploit that matchup with Nick Bonito especially. Get some spin moves, get some swim moves, allow Nick Bonito to win with his speed up front. Anytime you've got a rookie tackle making his first NFL start, that's a matchup that defenses are naturally going to look to exploit. On the interior as well, I think John Simpson, their left guard, he's played some good football, but he is vulnerable to getting beat with bull rushes on the interior. So we could see Zach Allen, DJ Jones, Malcolm Roach, John Franklin Myers generate some pressure against John Simpson in particular. And then Joe Tippmann, their center, he's got a couple of formational tells that kind of allow him to get beat in terms of like outside moves and stuff like that. So there are some weaknesses on this Jets offensive line that should allow the Broncos defense to generate a pass rush. CJ Mosley is out this game, yes, but the Jets have Jamian Sherwood there as their Mike linebacker. He's wearing the green dot. He's stepped in and filled in admirably for CJ Mosley. So there's not really much of a drop off there with CJ Mosley out. Any injury update on the Jets or Broncos game today? So Devon Vele is still dealing with a rib injury. The Broncos are wanting to be smart and cautious with him. He's got a rib fracture, so we're probably not going to see him for maybe another week or 2. He's inactive for this game. Wouldn't be surprised if he's inactive next week. We'll probably see him week 6 against the Chargers, at latest week 7 against the New Orleans Saints. That's probably the big injury. JL Skinner is out for today's game. He's got an ankle injury, so that's going to be a little bit of a lost presence there on special teams. Hope Alex Palczewski has a great game. He's definitely going to have a much tougher test in this game than he did last week. Will McDonald on the edge for the New York Jets has played really well. He stepped in for Jermaine Johnson and has had a really good start to the year. So that's going to be a matchup that the Jets probably going to look to exploit, put Will McDonald on Alex Palczewski. They've also got some other players that they could line up. They could line up Quinnen Williams on the edge, Michael Clemens. They've got some good pieces on that defensive line. They've got 5 former first-round picks on that D-line, and you know that they're going to look to exploit matchups against Alex Palczewski in particular, because right now, at least on paper, he's the weakness for that offensive line, at least from the Jets' perspective. Broncos country might know differently, but the Jets are going to look at this and go, okay, we've got a tackle making his second start in the NFL, just like the Broncos are going to be looking at Olu Fashanu saying, all right, they've got a tackle making his first start in the NFL. Right tackle for both teams, I'm going to be keeping an eye on, because that could be a matchup that both teams are looking to exploit. Defensive line is good because all the guys give 110%. It's a little bit by everybody. They will get there today, 4 or more sacks. And that's a big thing, is they get a lot of effort sacks. They've got a high motor. They play with physicality. They play with their hair on fire. And you see that on tape. You don't see guys running out of gas out there. You don't see guys giving up on plays. Every single play, everybody is giving 100% effort. I'm glad you brought that up, Brandon, because that is definitely a big difference from last year's defense, especially in the early part of the year, that game in Miami, to now, is guys are giving 100% effort on every single play. They're not giving up on plays. They're playing physical. They're not playing scared, and they're playing like they want to win. They're not playing to not lose. They are playing to win. And it's been a really, really nice thing to see. Is Lavelle Bailey playing today? He is active. I think he's going to get some special teams work. He might get a few snaps here or there, but I don't expect to see a bunch of snaps from Bailey, at least in this game. Maybe next week they'll probably elevate him again, use his second elevation, and then after that we might see more Zach Cunningham or Quan Alexander, the 2 veteran linebackers that Denver signed to their practice squad. This week, they're still learning the terminology defensively, learning the checks, learning the calls, all that good stuff. Jonathan Cooper needs to get some sacks, and Benito. Well, both of those guys have played really well to start the year. I expect them both to continue their streak today. Tyron Smith is going to be the other tackle for the New York Jets, the future Hall of Famer, former Dallas Cowboy, but he is getting a little bit up there in age and does have some vulnerabilities to his game as well. So Jonathan Cooper will probably be predominantly lined up against him. I would be interested to see if Coop could get a sack today against Tyron Smith. Yep, the defensive line is also playing well because the secondary is playing well, but I also think that both are feeding off of each other. The secondary knows that they can play physical. They don't have to play soft, squishy zone coverage because the defense can get home. And the defensive line knows that the secondary can hold up long enough for them to get home. So it's a symbiotic relationship. They all feed off of each other. The secondary is playing well because the D-line is playing well, and the D-line is playing well because the secondary is playing well. So do the Broncos get the ball first if they win the toss? That depends on if Sean Payton wants to take the ball or not. Last week, he broke his usual tendency of deferring to start the half, and he took the ball to start the first half. So we'll see. Maybe he wants to get his offense in a rhythm and strike first, because that was a big thing last week. The Broncos strike first in that game. They got the lead, and they never relinquished it. That might be a key to winning this game, is taking the lead early and never relinquishing it. All right, guys, we are going to start wrapping things up here. I've got to get ready for the game stream. We'll be going live here in about 10 minutes. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Be sure to leave a like on this stream as well as subscribe to the channel. And let me know in the chat what you think the score is going to be for this game. I said in my game preview video, I have the New York Jets winning 24-16. I just don't think the Broncos offense is going to be able to keep up against this New York Jets defense. All right, there's Aaron Rodgers and company getting set and ready to go. But let me know your thoughts. We got Rodney saying 17-13 Jets. So, yeah, guys, I definitely think it's going to be a tough matchup. But if the Denver Broncos can play physical, play aggressive, stay disciplined, don't have any self-inflicted wounds, stay ahead of the chains, and strike first, then I think the Denver Broncos can get a win. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, guys, I'm your host, Gage. Madrid saying peace out.